Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing another quick draft of Innistrad Midnight Hunt. Without further ado, let's just get into the draft. We've got a pretty solid rare here, the Augur of Autumn. This allows us to play lands from the top of our library and creatures from the top if we control 3 or more creatures with different powers. So a pretty nice card draw engine. Honestly, the only flaw with this card, the biggest flaw with this card, is that it's in green, and green is pretty dang bad in this format. Red's also pretty bad. Blue, white, and black are just by far the strongest colors, mainly blue and black. Green and red are like borderline unplayable unless you have the perfect setup of cards. The Innistrad Midnight Hunt format is not well known for its balance of colors. And we've got a pretty solid white uncommon here that I think I'm actually going to take. The Ambitious Farmhand is a 2-mana 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic plains, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle, so it's a 2-for-1 every time. And if you have Coven, you flip this into a 3/3 lifelinker, which is a really nice body for racing. So really like Ambitious Farmhand and Seasoned Cathar, and I'm a much bigger fan of white in this format than I am green. For example, green's best common removal spell in the format is Duel for Dominance, which is a 2-mana instant speed fight spell, and that's about it. It's not a bite spell like Bite Down, and even Bite Down is worse than most removal spells the other colors get. There's a lot lacking in green to keep me off the Augur of Autumn, even if it is an individually more strong card than the Farmhand. Farmhand's the second best card in the pack, and it's in a much better color. Moonrage's Slash also pretty solid, but red is not great in the format either. I'm just going to go with Farmhand. Alright, pack 1, pick 2, we get past a Borrowed Time, an excellent removal spell in white, and that's a pretty easy pickup. Beloved Beggar's okay, but you really need a way to sacrifice it to actually get that disturb value off of it. So I'm actually a bigger fan of like Morning Patrol that actually gets into combat and trades off. Nice cheap red removal as well, but we'll take the on-color removal. Borrowed Time it is. Pack 3, we have a Gavany Silversmith, which is a really nice aggressive white creature. 4 power and 5 toughness for 4 mana. You just have to spread 2 of that amongst your other creatures. It can put a +1/+1 counter on itself, but you do need at least 1 more creature on board for that to pop off. So Silversmith is great. Blessed Defiance is also pretty good. A nice little combat trick. Makes it really hard for your opponent to race you. Giving one of your creatures +2/+0 and lifelink till end of turn, and then when that creature trades off, getting a 1/1 spirit out of the deal. Some very good black cards here. The Siege Zombie. This is a card that synergizes well with the Decayed Zombies, which are the primary mechanic of blue and black in this set. And part of what makes those colors so incredibly good are the Decayed Zombies and the payoffs like the Siege Zombie. So that's pretty good if we want to go off color. Crawl from the Cellar, a great value card for going into black too. But I think I'm going to go Silversmith here. No real big reason to hop off of white. Another solid red card here, the Fangblade Brigand, but sticking to white. Sticking to how we've started. Alright, pack 1, pick 4, we have a Lunarch Veteran, which is an excellent card in this format. If you self-mill and mill this card into your grave, you get some value by being able to disturb it later. If you sacrifice this to many of the sacrifice outlets in the set, you get value by being able to disturb this later. Lunarch Veteran just plays really well in multiple archetypes because it's good as sacrifice fodder, as self-mill fodder. It's just 2 cards in 1 thanks to that disturb ability, so pretty happy to take that. Disturb, just an inherently powerful effect. Pick 5, we get another Gavany Silversmith, pretty happy to take that and roll with it. Some other fun cards, but nothing for what we're currently playing. Alright, we are out of white cards, so we're going to have to dive into another color here, and awkwardly enough, the strongest card in this pack is in green, the Outland Liberator here. I'm a pretty big fan of. The Broodweaver's good too. The Liberator is a 2-mana 2/2 that gives you main deckable artifact enchantment removal, which is great. This card is ridiculous at night because it just destroys an artifact or enchantment every time it attacks, which is absolutely absurd. So I'm pretty big fan of Liberator. I think I'm taking that here. But Broodweaver's another good green card, a 2/4 that spits out a 1/2 when it dies, so we might actually be heading into green after all. A little weird to head in that direction after not taking the green rare, but it is what it is. The best card in this pack is Startle, which is a very good little combat trick, because it's a cantrip. You draw a card as you cast it and get a little zombie off of it, so Startle's pretty great. We'll scoop that up. Not much else going on in this pack. Wolf would be okay if we're definitely in green. Pick 8 now, we get another Broodweaver. A Consider in blue is really nice, especially with Disturb cards, because then if you have a Disturb card on top, you get to mill it and still draw a card. So I actually like Consider a lot in blue, so I'm actually going to take that over Broodweaver. We did not wheel our green rare, which makes a lot of sense, but we did wheel a Startle and a Ritual of Hope. Ritual of Hope, good if you have a bunch of creatures with different powers, just for getting really aggressive and closing the game quickly. And Startle, just that really good blue trick, spitting out a Decayed Zombie and drawing a card. I think Startle's just a more consistent card, because even if there's no combat going on, you can just cycle this, draw a card, get a zombie. Really good with sack outlets. Whereas Ritual of Hope, if you don't have 3 different powers of creatures, it's pretty not great. I don't know. I'll take the Startle. Definitely take the Morning Patrol here. Blue-White's main mechanic is going to be Disturb, and Morning Patrol fits into a Blue-White Disturb Spirit kind of deck quite well. Also a Sun Gold Barrage, but much prefer removal that can hit any creature like a Borrowed Time can. Some very filler green creatures. Bat Whisper is actually kind of a solid black card. Spitting out additional creatures. Actually take that. Now we'll take the filler Pestilent Wolf, although how many humans do we have? We already have 5 humans. 2 mana +2/+2 isn't completely horrible. 2 mana +3/+3 indestructible is a pretty good trick, so maybe a Flare of Faith makes it in here. Alright, some cards we're not playing. I guess the blue card is more likely. And some sideboard material in the format where we will not be sideboarding. So for pack 2, pick 1, we opened up an incredible black rare that could push us in that direction regardless of the fact that we took some blue cards. Jisa Glorious Resurrector is a 4 mana 4/4, and if an opponent's creature dies, you get to exile it, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, put all cards exiled with Jisa onto your board with Decayed. Pretty ridiculous rare here. Stealing everything that dies throughout the game is kind of nuts. We do have 1 Bat Whisper, so we'd have Bat Whisper Jisa if we go in that direction. If we don't take her, we're taking some mediocre white card. Well, Blessed Defiance isn't mediocre. It's solid, as is Candlegrove Witch and Loyal Griff, but nothing near as strong as Jisa in this pack, so a little speculative here, but we're not missing a massive amount if we don't get to go black. Pack 2, pick 2. Well, we got a great blue-white Disturb rare, so might just hop back in that direction. Sorry, Jisa. There's some good black cards in here as well. Diregraph Horde is an excellent black common, and Rite of Oblivion is solid removal for the white-black deck, but I think Hermit's just really efficient. 2 mana for a 2/1 and only 3 mana to disturb this as a 2/2 flyer. Really, really cheap Disturb card here. Looks like we're in a great position to push into blue-white spirits, and that's what I'm going to do here. Flip the Switch is a great counterspell in blue. Candlegrove Witch is a nice creature in any white deck in the format because it gets that flying as you move to combat pretty often. There's also Evolving Wilds if we want to try splashing some stuff. Leaves us nice and open. Kind of like to flip the switch here, I think. Although I don't have a ton of creatures yet, and Candlegrove Witch is a solid filler one, but flip the switch is like a great counterspell. Counterspell and you get a little Decayed Zombie. Okay, we have Nebelgast Intruder, which is like a combat trick and a creature all in one, or Gale Drifter, which is 2 creatures all in one, thanks to the Disturb ability. So great value creature throughout the course of the game, or the creature that gets a nice trick when it enters. Since I already have double Startle, I think I'm doing pretty good on tricks. I'm just going to take the big value creature. 2 creatures off 1 card, the Gale Drifter. And now we get a 3rd Startle, so yeah, we're going to be all loaded up on the little Startle tricks. Well, there are a lot of creatures in this format with pretty good abilities, even small ones, so just having removal to get things off board is pretty important, and the only spell we have right now for removal is Borrowed Time. I actually like Silverbolt better than the Sun Gold Barrage, because most creatures with like 4 more toughness in this format are werewolves, so this just feels like it kills more things. Because it's going to kill all of the early game creatures that might have good abilities, which I think come up more often than like late game 4 toughness creatures. And again, like half of the late game 4 toughness creatures are going to be werewolves anyway, so I actually like Silverbolt a lot when we're lacking on removal, which we are. We only have a Borrowed Time, so Silverbolt it is here. Not a huge fan of Bereaved Survivor, just a little hard to get it all to trigger together correctly. You need to get something else to die, then you need to be able to send in a 3-2, well, which is a little difficult. Firmament Sage is pretty slow, and Unruly Mob is the same, pretty slow. Let's just get some removal. Alright, we're going to take a Falcon Abomination here. This card's kind of incredible. A 3-mana 2-2 flyer that comes with a Decayed Zombie. It's just a great deal. Nice evasive threat. Fading Hope is a really nice piece of interaction, but now that I do have 2 hard removal spells of Borrowed Time and Silverbolt, I think I can afford to take the very, very good creature. I think Falcon Abomination and Fading Hope are pretty on par here, but I'm going to take the Falcon Abomination. Big fan. Big fan. I don't really like any of these cards. This technically could theoretically mill us into some Disturb cards, which is kind of cute, so maybe we're on that. Unruly Mob's okay when we start getting a bunch of Decayed Zombies, which we actually do have 4 different cards that make Decayed Zombies now, so maybe that's a thing. I guess we have 5. But again, it's so slow. 2 mana for a 1-1 as the initial impact means it's a really bad draw late game, and even when you draw it early game, you need to put in work before it's big enough to matter. Might even just take a 5-mana 3/6 that doesn't really do anything else. A big wall, keep my opponent off me. Don't love any of these. I guess I'll just go Sanctifier, because theoretically we self-mill. Put some Disturb cards in our grave. Do I want my 4th Startle or my 1st Blessed Defiance? I think I'd rather have my 1st Blessed Defiance. The only thing that's a little awkward about this card in this archetype is if you cast this on a disturbed creature, so the back half of one of these creatures, that creature exiles when it dies. So if you cast this on a creature that has been disturbed from the grave, you won't get the 1/1 flyer. But generally it's a pretty good deal on just the front half of any creature. So I like grabbing my 1st Defiance. I don't like Cathar's Call in this format because the removal is incredibly efficient, especially if you're playing against black. If you're playing against black, you're just going to lose any game you try to cast Cathar's Call, because black has Defenestrate, Eaten Alive, Olivia's Midnight Ambush, Infernal Grasp, way too much stuff at common and uncommon to play a card that can get 2 for 1 so hard by a removal spell from your opponent, so I just think the removal's too good in this format to try to play Cathar's Call, so I'm just going to take a Spirit number 2. Which is pretty filler, not excellent, but it is what it is. Ritual Guardian is very filler, so are we on Sun Gold Barrage at this point? Are we that low on removal? I guess. We'll put it in for now. Hoping to get like another Borrowed Time or something, that'd be perfect. Alright, pack 3, what do you have in store for us? Ooh, a Wrath effect. Board wipe, you say? Destroy all creatures. That's a lot of mana, but still. That's pretty tempting. Pretty impressive in a deck where a lot of the creatures can get recast from the grave. We'll take a Vanquish the Horde here. Definitely the coolest card in the pack. A little sad to pass up on Phantom Carriage, which would be an incredible addition to this deck. A big win condition sized flyer, a 4/4 flyer that also basically draws as a card. It tutors our library for any creature with Disturb and puts it in our grave so we can recast that the turn after. So Phantom Carriage is also excellent. Search Party Captain and Bait Hook Angler, great commons. Ridiculously good pack here, but we're going to go with the Vanquish the Horde. Gavany Trapper, Fading Hope, and Bait Hook Angler are all pretty exceptional here. I think I'm going to go with the Bait Hook Angler, just get more disturbed creatures in the deck. Really fill out that archetype well. Organ Hoarder is the mythic common. If you get this in any pack and you are even touching blue, you should probably take it. A 4-mana 3/2 that lets you look at the top 3 cards of your library and put 1 into your hand and the rest into your grave when it enters the battlefield is ridiculous. It's a 4-mana 3/2, draw the best card out of your top 3 in addition. Plus, if you have graveyard mechanics like Disturb, which we do, you can oftentimes even potentially draw like 2 or 3 by picking up a card and milling a Disturb card. So Organ Hoarder is ridiculous, and we're going to take it. Pick 4 now. Delver of Secrets is kind of nice. We have a relatively high instant sorcery count. We have 9 of them. There's a bunch of other great options. There's another Falcon Abomination. There's a Nebelgast Intruder for that Flash Flyer with a trick attached. There's Consider. There's Startle. I think I'm going to go Nebelgast Intruder here. Just get more flyers into this deck and get kind of the tricksy one now, the Flash instant speed one. But think you can go super wrong here. Delver, Falcon Abomination, both great picks too. Another Organ Hoarder, come on into the deck. A little sad to have to take this one because Shipwreck Sifters is excellent in a Disturb deck because it lets you draw a card, discard a card, and if the card you discarded was a card with Disturb, the Sifters get +1/+1, which is huge. Huge, huge, huge stuff. Mysterious Tome is a pretty fun but pretty slow card, so that's probably not it. Probably between Sifters and Organ Hoarder, and it's just gotta be Organ Hoarder. Pick 6, pretty good interaction, Revenge of the Drowned here, but we could also take a second Silverbolt. Already spoke that Firmament Sage and Unruly Mob are too slow in my opinion, and I don't really want a 4th Startle. I think I'll take Revenge of the Drowned. I like that as interaction really slows people down. Put a card on the top or bottom of their library. We've got a ton of Decayed Zombie production, so Larder Zombie is actually looking pretty sweet here. Letting us use those Decayed Zombies for value, setting up our future draws. Putting them in the grave if we don't want them, or if they're Disturbed cards. Taking Evolving Wilds for mana fixing. I don't like Otherworldly Gaze. I don't like a card that doesn't do anything except set up your draws. Theoretically, if you have a boatload of Disturb and Flashback, this sort of draws you a card as you're casting it, but the fact that there's a risk of just spending this, just setting up what you're going to draw in the future, just puts you down a card, and I'm not into that. I'm not going to play a 3rd Storm Rider. I'm probably not playing one Amalgam, but maybe. Might play a 2nd Blessed Defiance, probably not, but we'll see. I'd rather play a 2nd Consider than a 4th Startle. And we'll take a Jack-o'-lantern for the Halloween season, just for flavor. Just for the festivities. Alright, let's go through this deck, pick the 8 most mediocre cards and cut them. Unblinking Observer's not great, and all of our other 2-drops are fantastic. Our 1-drops are fantastic. At 3 mana, these are all pretty great, except Sanctifier. 4 mana, all great. 5 mana, Stormrider Spirit's not great, unless you're holding up a ton of counterspells at instant speed, and this gives you something to cast if you don't cast your counterspell, but we're not a deck that's doing that. We have 1 counterspell in the whole deck, so cut these 4 first, and then that puts us down to 13 creatures. Definitely not cutting more creatures after that. So 4 non-creature cards get cut. I kind of want to cut Sungold Barrage, and if my opponent plays really big creatures, our plan is to have the counterspell at the ready, or bounce them to slow them down, or board wipe, or borrowed time. Yeah, we've got options there. I don't love this Flare of Faith when I have 3 Startles and a Nebelgast Intruder being a little tricksy as well. I think I'll cut that. With double Consider, we can definitely lower our land count, because every time we draw a Consider, we can just mill a non-land, preferably one with Disturb, to get closer to that land off the top. Those cycle every time we play them. The Startles also cycle. Yeah, so we'll cut 1 land and then 1 more card. Might cut 1 Blessed Defiance. It's not as good in this deck as it is in most, simply because there are going to be times where we want to cast this on like a flipped Benevolent Geist, but we don't get a 1/1 Spirit if we do that, so we'll cut down to 1 Defiance, I guess, and this will be the deck. Alright, here's the final deck we're going to play with today. It's a blue-white Disturb deck. We have cards like Baithook Angler, Malevolent Hermit, Lunarch Veteran, and Morning Patrol, and Gale Drifter that all get to trade off with something and then get recast from our grave at a later time. We could also mill them with our Considers or our Larder Zombie for some good value there. They also get milled by Organ Hoarder. Pretty aggressive curve here. Double Gavany Silversmith to try to get some extra pressure on our opponent when we do get to curve out aggressively, and tons of combat tricks with triple Startle and Nebelgast Intruder lowering our opponent's powers, and Blessed Defiance adding to our own power. A little bit of good interaction like Revenge of the Drowned, Flip the Switch, Borrowed Time, and Silverbolt, and the one really big board wipe if necessary. So interesting deck here. Don't know how well it's going to do. We don't have a lot of individually just like really impactful cards outside of the board wipe. We're just going to have to hope that all of our cards kind of work pretty cohesively together and curve out pretty well for us. So we'll see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Alright, opponents on the play. We've got perfect mana, turn 2 creature, some interaction. Definite keep for us. Opponent's going to start with the Secrets of the Key, get some investigating going on. They are on blue-red. Let's get things rolling with a malevolent hermit of our own. Opponent's going to draw a card off this clue. And there's a Consider. Blue-red in the format, a lot of like blue-red spells style stuff. Neonate's Rush there, really good against our Hermit. Glad to see that that's gone, but that might mean they just have an additional copy anyway. But if the Hermit dies, we do get to recast it from grave later. Flooding out a little bit here, already at 6 lands, 2 turns in the game, or 3 turns into the game. So definitely hoping to draw some action here, but looks like our opponent doesn't have too much either, although they do look like they're probably a spells deck. Could be pretty controlling. Could be a lot of passing the turn, holding up counter spells and removal. The only thing that really gets us here is Devious Cover-Up. If it's like Flip the Switch or something, that's pretty fine. So I think we just Gale Drifter here. Hope for no Devious Cover-Up. Alright, yeah, Flip the Switch is fine. We can still cast that next turn as the 2/2 flyer version. Devious Cover-Up is the 4-mana counterspell in this format that exiles. I guess Dissipate would have been bad for us as well, but that one's an uncommon. So the only common that's bad for us there is the Devious Cover-Up. Storm Rider's Spirits. Probably just bolt that. Which means no Gale Drifter this turn. Wonder what our opponent is up to now. They have 5 cards in hand and they're just thinking on it here. We'll see what they've got coming up soon enough. Festival Crasher. Big enough to completely stop all of my combat here. And looks like that's it for now. Just gonna have to try to land a Gale Drifter and stop drawing lands. Gale Drifter does resolve thanks to Hermit being able to counter stuff. They are going to Electric Revelation. That is fine. I guess if I counter that, they don't draw, but they still had to do the discard. A little tempted. That feels kind of good. I mean, that feels kind of good. They're going to have the mana up to pay for this on a lot of other stuff later. Alright, recast it here with the flashback. And they've got a Geist Wave. That's actually solid for us. We get to recast the front half. And to do both all over again. Feels very good. They only have 1 blue up, which means they can't counter anything here. Here's a Morning Patrol big enough to block the 1/3 when they're not casting spells. Although we know they have another spell in their graveyard to flashback, so we know the Crasher's at least a 3/3 this turn if they want it to be. Burn the Accursed. That is basically pre-sideboarded against us. Pretty disgusting. Because it exiles the creature that it kills. So brutal. Startles are just so awkward. I think Startles are actually that good in this deck. Probably just need to start cycling them aggressively and not try to get them in combat all the time. This has also just been a weird game. Like, there's not been a lot of attacking from my opponent, generally speaking. Probably block with Morning Patrol here, see if I can get them to commit any resources into buffing Crasher. I could even go for the double block since I have double startle, but looks like they don't even want to attack here, which is fair. Alright, cast Electric Revelation number 2. They can also flashback that one. Thermo Alchemist, that's threatening when we're at 8 life. I don't want to have to vanquish the Horde right now, it's just not favorable currently. Because then our opponent just has 2 card draw spells in their grave. After all this. I mean, we're just sitting here dying to Alchemist otherwise. Yeah, maybe I'm supposed to just drop the Vanquish the Horde. Deciding against it for now, but I could see that being what we have to do. Alright, well, at least they didn't get to untap Alchemist when they cast this Play with Fire. Oh, they were really playing around Startle there. They could have killed Geist and my 2-3 if they just shot Geist with the Play with Fire. Alright, yeah, we're almost definitely vanquishing the Horde next turn. I don't know why they're choosing to do this in their upkeep, but I guess that's a thing they can do. Or in their draw step. I don't think there's any added value to not just doing this in the main phase. Borrowed Time is exciting, but pretty sure I'm still on Vanquish the Horde. Yeah, Vanquish the Horde, and then we start amassing a new board. It's not going to cost 8, but it is going to cost more than 3, because we're going to lose these 2 Decayed Zombies, so it's going to cost us 5 mana. So we will have 4 mana to play around with, which means we get to play Lunarch Veteran into Falcon Abomination, which feels kind of good. Should put us in a winning position here. They're down to 6 now. And we'll gain life off Veteran. They've got multiple card draws stacked up with these clue tokens, but need to draw pretty well to turn things back around here. Ardent Elementalist, that is a pretty great one. Return an instant or sorcery from their graveyard to hand when they play it. Choose a Neonate's Rush, they get to kill the veteran and draw a card. Actually not the craziest thing ever. This veteran just has Disturb. Ooh, wow. Do you have any Silversmith threatens lethal here? If their last card isn't good, Silversmith Borrowed Time just wins. I've got the mana to play Veteran as well. So I'll do that first, so as my creatures are dying in this combat, I gain life. Attempt to get in for Xaxes. And now, even if it doesn't happen, I gain a life from Phantom when the Decayed Zombie dies. And the only way I think it wouldn't happen is if they have like 3 damage to Falcon Abomination, in which case I'd gain 2 life now when those 2 die, thanks to the Luminous Phantom. And it looks like they do not have the burn spell to get that damage off of them, so that is going to be the victory for us as we head into Game 2. Alright, Game 2, turn 1 Veteran, turn 2 Angler, 2 little pieces of interaction. Definitely a good list of stuff to get things started. Opponent is on red with a Voldaren Stinger. That's first strike as long as it's attacking. That is not a first striking blocker. I will snap trade here. Well, that is very surprising. I will absolutely take that. Another Stinger? Well, that explains things. That explains things. Good God. And they didn't want to block this time? I don't understand that at all, that they wanted to block the 1/1 but not the Angler. Sure. Veteran Consider or Veteran Bolt here. Somebody's working on clearing out these Stingers. Like, I guess they're playing around, by not blocking last turn, they were playing around Startle, but like, I can't Startle twice if they just double block, but then they lose both creatures. Yeah, that is bad for them if they double block. Well, it's definitely Organ Hoarder now. Farmhand here. 1, 3, 2. Yeah, Farmhand looks good. If the Organ Hoarder dies, then Farmhand is no longer good, but still okay. Oh wow, opponent's really getting aggressive here. Oh, never mind. Just attack with a 3/1 and that's it. Holding up Startle, Consider. They don't have the mana to buff these. Yeah. Okay, they are not playing around Startle this time, so we'll just do it. Now we have a Consider during their end step. Our board state is very big. Fourth Stinger? That's the 4th Stinger. Opponent is just like Oprah Winfrey, just releasing the bees, just stinging everybody. But it is not going to be enough. That's going to be 2-0 for us as we head into Game 3. Another perfect hand, Veteran and Hermit here, both colors. We're rolling with it. We're cruising on in. Opponent takes a mulligan. I wish the Dominar United Arena Open came with sleeves, so I could just swap my sleeves every time an Arena Open happens. But we've still got the Alchemy Horizons Battle for Baldur's Gate sleeves. Love that I get to hold up a trick and creature all at once. That's fancy. Also holding up a counterspell thanks to Hermit. I can't counter a creature though. That is a thingy I can't do. Alright, Nebelgast, touch yourself. Aw, it only touches opponent's stuff. Sad. These creatures have Disturb, so it's decent value to just trade here. Startle doesn't save it, but that's okay. They are not going to trade anyway. Come on down, Morning Patrol. Just curving on out. Opponent at 12 life here. One blocker. One Silverbolt. Tap out for the Silverbolt here. So 12 life, one blocker it is. That is no blockers if they're going to slap us for 3. But it did flip tonight, so they get to set up their top cards, look at the top 2, and put 1 into the graveyard. Put the Cathar Commando into the graveyard. Probably just recasting Morning Patrol, honestly. Could hold up Consider and Hermit's ability. I think it's better to just play Morning Patrol, and then just Borrowed Time, whatever they play to try to block with. It is tempting to be able to hold up Hermit's ability, because then if they play any non-creature spell, we counter it, and if they play any creature, we kill it. But we just don't have lethal if we do that, but we do if we do this. So we just go for lethal, see if it happens. If it doesn't happen, we still hit for 5. And they are going to scoop them up. It's going to be lethal, and it's going to be 3-0 for the Blue-White Spirits deck. Game 4, here we go. 3-0 so far. Great mana yet again. Turn 1 veteran, then we just start dirtling around. But that's okay. We drew a 2-drop, alright. Now we actually curve out. Turn 3 is when we use Evolving Wilds and hold up Startle. We've got a plan throughout the game here. An Angler before combat in case they do some kind of weird trick to kill this veteran. I at least gain my life. I guess they could have Olivia's Midnight Ambush or something. Ooh, Celestis. Every time it flips between day or night, they get to draw a card and discard a card and gain a life. Yeah, that's pretty good here. That might be worth just cycling a Startle because I have 2 of them. Just that it doesn't flip to nighttime. I think I'm going to do that, honestly. Keep it daytime here. Alright, well, definitely worth it. I've still got 2 backup Startles. Tireless Hauler. How did they afford... Oh, because Celestis also taps for mana. It's a mana rock. That's not ideal. That just stops everything. There's a big old 4/5. Got to draw into a Silverbolt or something. That is a werewolf. I could also Vanquish the Horde. We'd rather save that for later when they play more creatures. Let's just consider and see if we can find removal. That is tempting. Yeah, I think that sets up our draws enough to dump out on the board here. Probably start chump blocking 1 disturbed creature at a time and waiting for them to have like 3 big creatures on their board, then we'll Vanquish. Seems like a game plan. Keep the life gaining one the longest, because the extra power doesn't matter because this thing's vigilant, so we're just not hitting. Alright, that's another decently sized creature. Vanquish the Horde looking good. Still want to get a little greedy, wait for 1 more creature because I can still chump block everything next turn. Don't think I want the land. Well, I'll hit 1 anyway. If I just play a land and pass instead of playing Bait Hook, I am very much representing something is off here, but we'll do it anyway. Oh, that's right. Those are both werewolves. Okay, well now I really need to Vanquish next turn no matter what. If I cast 2 spells in my opponent's turn, unfortunately it won't flip to day. You have to cast 2 in your own turn. I guess I should have cycled the Startle again. Morbid Opportunist is a very good card. 2 Morbid Opportunists is very, 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 very good. So if one of our creatures dies this turn, they get to draw a card. They only draw one card if I just Vanquish next turn. It only costs 2 mana to do it. I can just Vanquish off double white. Actually, no, they still draw 2. Because they have 2 opportunists. So they're going to draw 4 cards total if I lose a creature right now and Vanquish next turn. So I guess I just startle some damage off of me and gain some life and kill nothing. Oops, no, I'm trying to block with that. So I get to stop 6 damage by double startling and blocking with larger zombie. And then none of my creatures die, so they don't draw 2. And then we vanquish the horde and they will get to draw 2. Borrowed Time is a good one to draw, so we're not gonna try to larger zombie again in the upkeep because we already know we're drawing a good card. But after we draw Borrowed Time, we can larger zombie a couple more times before I Wrath because we're not going to get any good attacks in. They have 3 good blockers. We'll hit them for 1 damage if I attack with everybody, so it's probably better to just larger zombie again. Lanes? No. Already got land for turn here. So I'll have 6 mana. Okay. So I believe we let them draw 2 cards and we vanquish the horde. Then just recast our dorks and pass the turn. Pestilent Wolf, a 2/2 that can give itself Death Touch. And there's 2 of those. Alright, a 2/3 blocker is perfectly sized for those, so I am in love with the Gavany Silversmith we've got in hand. So we'll drop that down, make our flyers get in some nice damage here, and have a blocker for one of those Pestilent Wolves. Could be Olivia's Midnight Ambush in opponent's hand here, but it could also just be Pestilent Wolf abilities. Because they have the mana to use the Pestilent Wolves thanks to Celestis, so Arena could just be asking them if they want to use Pestilent Wolves all the time here. Doesn't necessarily mean they have a trick up or a removal spell. And I think if they did have a Midnight Ambush or something, they probably would have killed the Hook Haunt Drifter in response to Silversmith. But I suppose if they had Midnight Ambush, that does do -13 at night, so could be keeping it for a bigger threat. Defenestrate. Goodbye, Silversmith. Could pop out a 1/1 flyer if I want. Don't think it's worth it. Rather get the gigantic life gain swing you get from the lifelink while getting a 1/1 spirit out of this at a later time. Alright, we don't want to double spell because they get to draw discard again if I do. So no Defiance, no Borrowed Time. Not that I would have wanted to cast either of those anyway, but just good to keep in mind with Celestis popping off. They're dead to 2 attacks from the flyers now. There's a gigantic creature on the ground, which is fine. I can Borrowed Time that. And I'm still really winning the race with the flying creatures. That is not ideal. Another removal spell from my opponent, and Blessed Defiance won't spit out a 1/1 because it's exile based. And that means 2 spells in the turn, so opponent also gets to draw and discard off the Celestis, as well as gain a life. So that slows us down a lot. We're definitely going to have to Borrow Time the Tireless Hauler to keep that off of my face. But we get to attack in with the Silversmith on the ground too this turn, thanks to that. And Organ Hoarder is a nice draw. I guess I could Borrow Time the Celestius, but better just slap in for damage. Alright, Organ Hoarder, what do we see? Disturb creature and a flip the switch? Alright, throw a disturb creature in my grave then. Flip the Switch isn't countering all that much. It might have been better to just put this creature in my hand, but if I cast it out of my hand, it's a 2/3 on the ground. If I cast it from the grave, it's a 2/1 in the sky, and flyers seem pretty great here in this matchup. I think flip the switch to hand, Morning Patrol to grave was the best use of Organ Hoarder there. That seems fine, even if the flip the switch doesn't end up countering anything. Alright, opponent's at 6 life. They block here and take 5. Die to Blessed Defiance. I can flip the switch, whatever they do, to try to make it so they don't die. And that should just be guaranteed lethal because they only have 3 mana up. So literally anything they cast here to try to survive is guaranteed to get countered by flip the switch. That would have put them to 1 life exactly if that resolved, so we will flip the switch and we will be 4-0 now, I believe. Very good record with this blue-white Disturb deck. Here we are, game 5. A little bit of an awkward hand mana-wise without the white source, but we have a Startle to Cantrip and an Organ Hoarder to draw if we hit 1 land by turn 4. We did hit the Organ Hoarder mana, so we don't get to play the Veteran turn 1, but we still get to cast all this stuff. And multiple of those help us get to the plains, which is nice. Getting 2 islands in a row there, those are probably the worst draws in our deck, unfortunately. And a 1/4 is very, very good against our deck. A 1/4 with reach as well, so the flyers don't do anything either. Oh, again, I should have startled main phase to stop it from going to night. I forgot about Daybound, Nightbound. It's pretty frustrating mechanics. It's so easy to just instinctually just pass, and it's like, oh, I guess I messed up. I guess I lose. Just draw. Can consider and startle here to go back to day, or I can just Organ Hoarder and pull out the plains. Go consider startle here. Oh my god. That's not ideal. That's like one of the very few cards I don't want to mill to get at plains. Because that's a good one. Alright, well, we've definitely played this game incorrectly. I took an extra 3 damage that I shouldn't have. But we've corrected here. Got it back to daytime. Ooh, Purifying Dragon. That is a very good card. I was gonna say that's okay because I've got perfect removal for it, but I still don't have the white source, so it's definitely not okay. We probably have to Revenge the Drown that. Because that can kill our 2/1, that can kill our zombie. Kind of have to Revenge of the Drowned it right now, or it's going to be nighttime again. We get hit for 3. If I just cast Organ Hoarder, that kills Organ Hoarder just by attacking. Just going to Revenge it right now. And pass. I could also wait and still Revenge it during their turn and take the 3 damage. But this seems fine. There's plains number 1. Are we all in on double plains and try to go for a board wipe, or do I just borrow time the Purifying Dragon and sit on my butt? Honestly, the Purifying Dragon alone makes things so bad. If I just try to sit here, because then they kill Angler, they could kill Organ Hoarder if I play that instead, they kill Veteran. Just chips away at my board so much, I think we have to just borrow time and not wait for the double white. Alright, Mystic Skull is a gigantic threat. Big old 5/6. And they spent the turn letting it go to night. I have to cast 2 spells to put it back today. We'll definitely cast Organ Hoarder, that's pretty much a guarantee. We found the plains! Alright. The free choice there. If I cast another spell, it goes back today. If I just hold on to this Vanquish the Horde, maybe they play another creature. I don't think I just jam out Vanquish the Horde right now. Might want to get these zombies in just for their damage here at this point. If I'm planning to Vanquish next turn anyway. Yeah, I think I'm Vanquishing next turn. So this turn we'll Startle. So attack with everybody. Startle and Chump. Just get some value out of these zombies before they die to our board wipe. Okay, Startle doesn't do anything right now. I guess I do need to cast one more spell this turn if I want Wing Shredder to be a 1/4. And I guess that is stopping just as much damage, because if I Startle right now, I stop 3 by making Wing Shredder smaller. Or I stop 2 by making Wing Shredder smaller. No, I do stop all 3, because then Organ Hoarder can block Wing Shredder without dying. Although, I only have 1 blocker, so I'm going to chump the 5/6 anyway. I don't know what I'm talking about. We're just going to Startle so it goes back to day. Moon Rager Slash, alright. Guess we are taking 5, unless I want to chump with a Lunarch Veteran. 6 damage next turn. I can take 6. I can take 6. That'll let me keep a life gainer for post-Wrath. Looks like we're just taking 5. Aw, they get to flash that back. They're going to have a 4/4 after the Wrath now. I would far prefer we get them to spend that. Before a Wrath happens. "17 cards left. Double chump, take 1. Hope they cast the Shadow Beast sighting here. Then, even if they don't, we just have to Vanquish now. Sweet. Alright, so they have 2 unknown cards in hand. That is all we have to deal with now. So we have a 1/1 and a 1/2 and 2 cards. They have nothing and 3 cards. Dryad's Revival, that's a pretty great one off the top. Returns 2 cards from their grave to their hand, so just pick their biggest cards. They're going to take the Bird Admirer and the Mystic Skull. Luckily, those are pretty slow here. We get to get in for a lot of damage, especially thanks to Silversmith. So now we just try to outrace them at this point, and that should be very possible with a Blessed Defiance in hand, giving us a huge life-gaining swing when we need it. Especially because that skull is 7 mana to turn into a creature, and it'll be tapped that turn. Candle Guide, get a 3/4 blocker on board, play the Bird Admirer to get a flying blocker, we'll Bless Defiance to kill the Bird Admirer. Goodbye, Organ Hoarder. I guess Candle Guide gets to kill something. The Bird Admirer doesn't actually kill any attackers, so we might actually have to Bless Defiance to kill the Candle Guide instead. Their only other creature that we know of in hand comes into play tapped. Yeah, I actually think it might be better to just kill the Candle Guide here. So they can't just keep killing our creatures. But killing the flyer is appealing. Or the flying blocker. But I'm going to kill the Candle Guide. I'm not 100% on that one, because the 1/1 Spirit's not that valuable if they have a 1/4 reach. But even if they have a 1/4 reach, like, if they're blocking this, that means they're not blocking these two. It still gets in extra damage. Oh, another blocker on the ground. And there's the Mystic Skull, no mana to flip it right now, and when they do, it'll be tapped, so next turn that'll be a tapped 5/6. Oh, Silversmith is phenomenal. Ridiculously good draw there. Now, our Spirit is out of reach of Bird Admirer. We make one of these a 3/3. Attack with everybody. They can trade there. Chump the 3/3, take 4, go to 2 life. Not chump, but bounce off the 3/3. Oh wow. Duel for Dominance is pretty good there. Silversmith still the nuts. Still puts us in an excellent position here to attack with everybody. But Duel for Dominance did help our opponent a lot. Okay, and here comes Morning Patrol. Look at how much random life this Luminous thing has gained us. We're back up to 19 now, after all is said and done. Oh, Bless Defiance was a lot of that too. Bless Defiance was 4 of that. Alright, tapped Mystic Monstrosity it is. And that's going to be game 5-0 with Blue-White Disturb. Here we are in round 6. Farmhand gets the second white that it needs, and then we have double Organ Hoarder. Unbeatable. Unbeatable. Mythic Rare Common. Unstoppable. Playing against white-green with a turn 2 Outland Liberator. That is very good against our Borrowed Time. We will have to keep that in mind. And if I don't want them to flip to Nighttime, I have to cast something this turn, so I'll consider. I don't think I want to Borrowed Time that card just yet. Alright, we drew something we can actually play this turn, so sure. I'll play a 1/3 and block the 2/2 all day. Need to draw into a 2-power creature to flip our farmhand. Hound Tamer, that's scary. I want to Borrowed Time that, but then they can just kill it with Liberator. Kill the Borrowed Time, that is. That's spooky. It's one of the best green, well, 2 of the best green cards. Very good uncommons here. I just saw an Organ Hoarder. Instant speed, they get to put a counter on a creature, so they can ruin any blocks we try to do. I don't know, I want to see if I can get this Organ Hoarder to like trade into Liberator or something before we go for anything. Alright, Silverbolt is beautiful in this matchup. Those are all werewolves, so even if they have a million +1/+1 counters on them, Silverbolt can clear that out of here. And Silverbolt is a card I can actually cast against Outland Liberator, because I can just sack it the turn I play it, and then I don't have to worry about their ability to blow up artifacts. Alright, well they need a combat trick to win this. +1/+1 counter alone doesn't do it. I could throw the Larder Zombie under the bus too. I'm not sure exactly what that plays around. I don't know the format well enough. Alright, Flare of Faith, that's fine. Trade their combat trick into my Organ Hoarder. Seems like a good deal for me, because I got some value off of Organ Hoarder. They did not draw a card off the combat trick. I'll actually keep a Consider. Because this is a matchup I want to make sure I can always cast a spell in my turn because of the whole day-night cycle. Consider's a really easy way to do that. Join The dance. Do I play another Organ Hoarder ready to just throw under the Liberator bus again? Doesn't seem awful. It's either Organ Hoarder or just shoot the Liberator with Silverbolt. I like drawing cards. I'm gonna keep drawing cards. Ooh, Vanquish the Horde might actually change things. We might be on Vanquish instead if our opponent taps out for some more like good creatures from their hand. This Vanquish the Horde has been the nuts in this deck. The fact that we've multiple times been able to vanquish with disturbed creatures on board so that then we just have multiple creatures to cast later has been just wonderful. It's gonna be a lot of tricks, and then we'll just blow everything up next turn anyway. Since everything is gonna die, I could block with Farmhand, but that's a little extra suspicious, so let's get them to dump all their resources into messing up our board. Keep it Intruder, that's fine. Alright, they're gonna do nothing there. They're just gonna recast a Join the Dance from grave. They're gonna play a Harvesttide Sentry. And a Cathar's Call. Well, yeah, this Vanquish the Horde is gonna be relatively good, I would say. Let's just draw this Intruder. Might as well attack with Farmhand. Yeah, 1 extra damage. And then we go boop. Feels good. Morning Patrol. I don't have any counter spells in hand, so my instant speed interaction is like -2 power to a creature. Not really necessary to hold up. Rise of the Ants is pretty phenomenal post-Wrath. They do need 8 mana to do the big recast, but it's a big deal. Blessed Defiance plus Nebelgast Intruder's kind of nuts interaction here. And our opponent has nothing in hand, so we know that can work out for us, so let's go for that. They are 1 mana away from playing the ant thing again. I'm going to lose 1 of my flyers here. I'm going to turn this into a 1/1 spirit and gain a bunch of life, gain 4. Yeah, now we're at 17 and we have a Startle in hand. Feels excellent. Feels like we can fight through the double Rise of the Ants, which is wild, because I was pooping myself when I saw that card initially. But now I'm like, alright, whatever. We'll still win. Yep, that's all good. We've got a 1/2 to block these 1/1s, so those are completely inconsequential, and I blow up one of these ants immediately and have Startle plus Borrowed Time. We're just straight winning. Just straight winning. Yeah, we're out racing them. We'll send everybody in. Startle to kill a 1/1, or do I want to Borrowed Time the 3/3? Safest to just hold on to Borrowed Time in case they draw a big werewolf. And I'm glad I did that, but that's a devastating werewolf because they get to put a counter on something here. So I don't actually get a good block. So I just don't. Startle doesn't work how I want it to. Actually, no, I can kill a 1/1 with the Startle still. I should have done that. They can only get one counter this turn. Yeah, I should have still killed a 1/1. Because it would have been a 0/2. Ooh. But if we get them to just dump the counter onto the pup itself, weirdly enough, that worked out perfectly for us. Now they will not keep a +1/+1 counter anywhere. Drawn to their own trick here, that would not be ideal for me. It's almost definitely their own trick if they waited that long, but whatever, this draws me a card when I do it at least, and I doubt their trick will draw them a card. That is a disgusting trick. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage this turn and kill them next turn. Yeah, we still win. 6 damage this turn, lethal in the sky next turn. We're good. They need to draw something very nice here, because I can chump block with both these creatures and still have lethal on board. Timberland Guide is not something very nice, so that should be game. That's, Howl the Hunt was almost very bad for us. But we do get there with the flyers. 6-0 for this Innistrad Midnight Hunt quick draft. Spirits just flying around all day long. That board wipe as well. Been absolutely ridiculous. Here we are in the final game of Magic, what may lead us into a 7-0 run potentially in this quick draft. Definite keep here. We've won every game where we drew Vanquish the Horde, but I guess we've won every game where we've drawn any of these cards. But still, Vanquish the Horde has been a very, very good role filler in this deck. Board wipe has just been massive when we have recastable creatures and our opponents don't. Ooh, 3-1 against the 1/3s. Rough, but maybe we can get some work done by this startle. Unlikely, but possible. Oh, they just immediately have Coven, so I just can't block it anyway. Yeah, turn 2 Harvesttide Sentry into Dawnhard Mentor is what we would call disgusting. We're probably already just on Vanquish the Horde, so let's draw some cards and stop some damage. We're already on the Vanquish plan. I have the second white in hand already, so I'll just get the tapped land out of the way on blue mana. Limited games with board wipes are the funniest because it's always like the exact opposite of a regular limited game. It's like, I want my opponent to just like curve out beautifully and just play some nuts stuff. And they cast the Dawnhard Wardens now. But it's like, yeah, I just want my opponent to just beat my face into oblivion right now as I set up for this board wipe. How greedy do I want to get with it? Do I want to cast it now or do I want to play a Gale Drifter and hold off on one more turn, see if I can get them to drop another creature here? I'm gonna get real greedy with it. We're gonna drop a Gale Drifter. This is gonna let us look at the top, put it in the grave if we want. It's gonna let us have a blocker for Dawnhard Wardens potentially. And this might get them to commit one more resource to the board, maybe play another creature, maybe spend a combat trick to try to win a fight here or something when everything's just gonna die anyway. So, see if we can get them to spend one more card at least before we cast Vanquish the Horde. That is the hope. Because putting a Gale Drifter on board, we're kind of only spending half a card since we can cast it from grave later. And we have a bunch of incredible ways to just steamroll with value after the board wipe with the double Organ Hoarder coming up. Okay, This looks like they're aiming for a combat trick here. They can't afford the Mentor. So, I mean, we put 3-2 on the 4-3, 1-3 on the 2-1 here. And let them dump a couple combat tricks out. Defend the Celestius. That is one combat trick, but it's a very big one that wins the entire fight, so that's rough, but we did get them to spend one more card into the board wipe, which is exactly what we wanted, so that's what it is. That's perfectly fine by us. Looks absolutely devastating here, but that's actually just exactly what we wanted to happen, so we're pretty cool with it. Get to hold on to a startle here. I'm not going to attack here because I want to hold 2 mana up, and if I attack first, then I'll have to spend 4 mana on Vanquish the Horde because there'll be one less creature on board. I don't know what on earth would get me to cast a startle, but if they play some kind of creature, I might just cycle it to draw the card. Ooh, Outland Liberator. Good plays from our opponent. The Outland Liberator makes our borrowed time in hand significantly worse. We're just playing an Organ Hoarder, because that can block this thing even if they have Coven. So we'll just play an Organ Hoarder to trade into their stuff. Draw us another card. No Coven here, which is a little sad. Or no... getting my mechanics mixed up. Our opponent is on the Coven deck. No Disturb, which is a little sad. But still, Nebelgast Intruder is a good draw here. But yeah, we're just going to keep dropping Organ Hoarders as 2-for-1s. Play an Organ Hoarder, trade into their creature on board, and put another card in our hand. Just do that twice, and the gap in cards in hand should be just a massive chasm at this point for us to close out this this game. We are at 10 life, though, so opponent doesn't need that many cards to kill us. They just need a good combination of cards. I actually kind of want to kill Liberator first so I can actually play Borrowed Time, but it's way safer to kill Sentry because it's less damage being dealt to us, so we'll do that, I guess. They're both humans, so if they have like the human trick that gets us either way, yeah. Cool. Still puts them down a card. Join the dance. That's uncool. Uncool. I can gain 5 life off a block here though now. If my opponent doesn't immediately top deck removal, this is our best line because we gain 5 and kill a thing and get a 1/1. So fingers crossed opponent doesn't immediately draw removal. I might want to actually just pull out this island in case they do so I can hold up Startle. Yeah. 5, 6, 7. I'll go to 1 life if my opponent top decks removal, so let's hold up a Startle as well. Sorry, flip the switch. I'd go to literally dead if I didn't hold up Startle here, so that was a pretty good choice, I would say. They just hit me for 8. I lose my creature and they hit for 8 on board. Wow. Been a while since I've been that paid off by what I chose to hold up. Good gravy. I'll trade all day. That's cool with me. I will trade with anything you send in. They do not wish to trade. 7 mana. I want to hold up Blessed Defiance, so I have 6 mana to play around with, which means Abomination, hold up Intruder, Defiance. Feels good. Can't really borrow time unless I'm using it on the Liberator. So yeah, Abomination, hold up Intruder, Defiance feels solid. Intruder Defiance is a lot of life gain and a lot less damage on their board, so I could send in the Hoarder. Try to get a trade going on attacks rather than blocks. Actually seems reasonable to me. They probably just take 3 though. Because if I'm in my opponent's shoes and I don't know what's in my opponent's hand, I'm probably just like, oh, I might be able to find lethal after this. But like, we know they definitely can't find lethal. We're safe to make that attack. But I guess we shouldn't really, because all it does is hit them for 3. Highly unlikely our opponent's in the position that they're in and decides, you know what I should do here? I should try to trade into the Organ Hoarder. Alright, I'll take 3. Probably should have stopped the damage here, because it's quite unlikely that I don't just slam down the intruder. Yeah. I should have stopped 2 damage there. The trap breakers flipped. It is night time. Can Silversmith and Blessed Defiance and Hermit. Now let's double spell here. Start really closing out the game in the sky. That's 6 damage per turn. That's 3 attacks till they're dead. If I get him with the zombies, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're just dead in 1 more attack. If they block a zombie with Trap Breaker, I'll Defiance on the zombie. But yeah, since the zombies can't block anyway. Alright, now we're at 9. We killed the 3/3. We have another flyer. It's no longer dead in 2 attacks, though, since I spent the combat trick based on how they blocked. Alright, 9 life to 9 life. My board is much bigger, and I have flyers. They have 1 creature that, if they get Coven again, the only creature I have that can block it is Organ Hoarder. Yeah, I think I played that a little extra risky. That Organ Hoarder attack wasn't actually ideal there. I could have played a little better in the final turns, but still, huge comeback thanks to the big Wrath effect and all the life gain and tricks and stuff we got to play with. Still going to be more than enough because the deck is just phenomenal, even if the gameplay was not perfect. So 7-0 for this Innistrad Midnight Hunt quick draft. Excellent draft altogether. Really nice blue-white Disturb deck. Vanquish the Horde is just nuts with Disturb cards. The Organ Hoarders were great as well. We got a few opportunities where we drew a card off of them and put a Disturb card in grave. That was ridiculous every time. Lots of good value to get back into the game after early aggressive starts from our opponents, thanks to cards like the Organ Hoarder, as I said. Silversmith just putting counters on flyers was always incredible, and the life gain from Blessed Defiance was pretty huge. Everything in the deck really kind of got its time to shine. Borrowed Time was a little rough. Played against the enchantment removal spell multiple games there, but other than that, everything was beautiful. Everything was great. Very happy with it, and that's going to end today's draft. As always, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see some more drafts like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send some more of these videos to your recommended feeds. Got great stuff on the horizon this month. It's a nice variety draft month. Dominaria United Alchemy Premier drafts will be live for a while. Throne of Eldraine Premier drafts are coming back, and Innistrad Crimson Vow quick drafts are coming back near the end of the month. So lots of cool variety limited stuff on the horizon. Stay tuned for that if you're interested. But as always, once again, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.